Hello beautiful people, welcome back to my channel. I'm Ifeoma. So today we are going to be making this beautiful pencil skirt with a hip contour. So if this looks like what you're interested in, definitely keep on watching. This is a piece of pattern paper that I'm going to be using to draft this pattern. Okay, so the first thing I went ahead to do is to draft out all my basic bodice line. This is the waistline, this is the hip line, the full length, and the knee line. Okay, so this is what it's going to be. All right, so from my waistline I measured 8 inches to my hip line. Okay, if you are a very tall person, you can use 9 inches, but if you are not, on average you can use 8 inches. Okay, so and the rest is just your body measurement. So the first thing I'm going to go ahead to do is to determine my underbutt measurement. Okay, so to get your underbutt measurement, what you are going to do is from your knee line you are going to go up by 6, 7, or 8 inches. Okay, you are going to go up by 6 inches if you are not tall. If you are, let's say, below 5 feet, you are going to go up with 7 inches if you are on average, and then if you are very tall, you are going to go up by 8 inches. Okay, so I'm making this for an average person. I'm going up by 7 inches, all right, from the knee line. All right, so don't mind here that I wrote the full length. This is the actual length of our skirt, but because I want to determine the underbutt from the knee, which I did not measure on the body of my client, I decided to go down to the knee line. Okay, so don't be confused if you are seeing full length and then knee line. All right, so I'm just going to draw a line across here, and this is going to be my underbutt. Okay, so having gotten this, I'm going to go ahead now and impute my measurements. Okay, so to do that, what I'm going to first of all do is to take my waist measurement and divide it by 4. Okay, so when I divided my waist measurement by 4, what I have is, okay, so the quarter of my waist measurement, this is what I have. Right, this is the quarter of my waist measurement, and my hip measurement, I'm going to also divide my hip measurement by 2. Okay, what I have. Okay, so whatever I have here, if you are very curvy, you can go with 2 inches. Okay, whatever I have here, this is what I have. Okay, if you are very curvy, to get your underbutt, you are going to minus 2 inches from whatever you have on your hip line. Okay, you are going to minus 2 inches from it if you are very curvy. If you are not so curvy, you're going to minus 1.5. If you are just a little curvy, you are going to minus 1.2. Okay, so the client I'm working with, I'm going to use 1.5. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to minus 1.5 from what I have here, and that is going to give me 9 inches. Okay, so this is what I have here. All right, so I'm going to connect that 9 inch down to the full length. All right, so having gotten this, let me connect all these dots. So this is what I have. This is what I have for the fronts. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and blend this. I'm just making this a lot clearer so we can see this. Okay, so this is what I have for the front. I'm going to go ahead now and cut this out. This is the front part. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and cut out so we can go ahead and draft out the back. I went ahead to trace out the front. Okay, this is what I have. This is the back, right? Let me label this the back. Okay, so this is the back. I went ahead to trace out the front. Note that we have not added any sewing allowance to this, so that is why you are not seeing the zipper allowance here. Okay, so after that, the next thing I'm going to do is to contour the hips, the butt side. Okay, this is the center back, and that is where the butt sits, right? So we are going to contour the butt side, and what we are going to do is what we are going to do is here on your underbutt, depends on how curvy you are. Okay, you can use 1 inch to go in on your underbutt, or you can use 1.2 inches depending on how curvy you are. Okay, so here I'm going to use 1 inch because this person is not very curvy. Okay, so on the waist side as well, to tighten my zipper on the waist side, I'm also going to go in on the waist side by 1 inch. Okay, so I'm going to connect all this to this place. Okay, so here I'm going to take it straight. All right, so having done that, the next thing I'm going to do is to replace what I removed here. What I removed there is 1 inch. I'm going to replace it to this side. Okay, and also on the, let me just extend this line a little bit. Okay, so this is what we have. Also on the underbust line, I'm also going to extend here. I'm going to replace whatever I took out from here. I'm also going to extend it to this part, and I'm also going to extend it to this part as well. Okay, so now we are going to connect all this. All right, first of all, I'm going to extend this line and make it a lot clearer, because that is where we are going to be cutting from. All right, so the next I'm going to do is to connect this part. Okay, so when we have gotten this, I'm just going to take it straight down to the full length. All right, so here we are going to connect it back. Right, so here also we are also going to connect from that 1 inch back to the hip line. So this is not the hip curve, that is why it's giving us a little bit of headache. So when you are making yours, if you have a hip curve, that would be the perfect curve for this. Okay, so you will not have to be struggling to connect. Okay, so this is what we have. This place is not so curvy, so I'm just going to use my ruler. All right, so this is what we are going to cut. Okay, so this part is going to be going out, this part as well is going to be going out. Okay, so at this point we're just going to label this is the center, right, so we don't make a mistake. Okay, so we are going to cut this out now. Alright, so this is what is the back is going to look like. So at this point we are going to now go ahead and trace this out on our actual fabric. On our actual fabric here, I just pinned our front on a folded fabric. Okay, so this is the center of the fabric, is together center. Okay, that means there's not going to be a tearing at the center. Okay, so what I want to say now for the first time is, if you are cutting a skirt, because this I'm cutting right now is a down part of a gown, so I don't need to cut out the band. But if you are cutting a skirt, what you could do is to measure depending on how wide you want your band to be. If you want your band to be 1.5 inches from the waist of your skirt, you are going to minus 1.5 inches. Okay, that is if you started measuring your skirt from the actual waist of your skirt. Okay, so when you have gotten this, you're just going to connect this with a straight line, label it with your band, cut it out and use it to cut out your band. Okay, so having said this, because this is a gown, I am not going to be cutting it out. All right, so remember when we are cutting this pattern, we did not add any body allowance, so I'm going to go ahead now to add 1.5 on the measurement. Okay, so that I'm going to use that as the shaping and also the turning allowance for the lining. Okay, and on the down part, I'm also going to add some allowance to it, so I decided to add 2 inches as the allowance. I decided to add 2 inches so as the folding allowance. Okay, so having gotten this, I'm going to go ahead now and cut out. So this is what we have. This is the center front. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and do the exact same thing for the back part as well. For the back part, I also went ahead to add 1.5 inches to the shaping side, and on the zipper side I added 1.5 inches as well. Okay, so for the length I added 2 inches, just like we did for the front. Now this 1.5 inches, you know we are going to be using 1 inch to turn the lining. So after I will be done turning the lining, we are going to be having 1 inch for the zipper allowance and also 1 inch for the shaping allowance. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead now and cut. Okay, so this is what we have here. I'm just going to notch this part so we know that this is the zip side. All right, so I'm going to do the exact same thing on the lining. I'm also going to go ahead and cut out the lining for this project. To start sewing, if you look, you're going to see that I stopped cutting my lining 0.5 inches below the notch that we have here. Okay, so that is how you are going to cut yours, so that by the time you turn it and then drag it up, it's going to fold your fabric to give you the actual length of the fabric. Okay, so to turn, the first thing we are going to do is you are going to make your lining to be facing your fabric, right side facing each other. Okay, so this is the right side of our fabric, this is the wrong side, this is the right side, and we are assuming that this is the right side of our lining. You can go ahead and interface your lining if you want, but this lining is pretty thick, so I am not going to be interfacing it. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead now and sew this down first using 0.5 inches. Okay, we are going to sew it straight. After sewing it straight, then you're now going to fold it using the dot. Then you're now going to fold it using the notch that you have here, and you're going to sew it all the way up using 0.5 inches. You're going to do the exact same thing for this side. You're going to fold it all the way up using 0.5 inches. Okay, so we are going to do that exact same thing for the zips, for the back part. Spread the back part, fold your lining facing place your lining on top of your actual fabric, right side facing each other. Sew the down part first, then drag it up and complete the side. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead now to my sewing machine and I'm going to do just that. Done turning it, I went ahead and I gave it a nice press. Okay, so whenever I'm pressing anything that I turn the down part, I like putting a hemming gum so that that place is stable and doesn't move. Okay, so at this point you can go ahead and fix your band and shape, or you can shape before you fix your band. Okay, so that is all for that. Thank you very much for watching, and I'm going to see you again on the next one.